Hey Trails Collective, Ian here. So today I am going to kick off a series in trying to more objectively quantify or measure the stickiness or effectiveness of outsole running shoe or trail shoe rubber. So what I'm going to try to do starting today is taking you through, or us through, basically all of the major midsole, or outsole rather, compounds and putting them head to head. So behind me to start, I've got 9 different trail models up there. And for one of them, the Topo that's up there, it uses a Vibram outsole rubber. And so although I don't have Ultra or Hoka in the mix, they're tackier outsoles in their models, such as the Speed Goat, or some of the others in the Ultra lineup use a Vibram outsole rubber. In my experience, their non-Vibram compounds on some of their other models, I think like the Torrent, just hasn't really been as sticky. And so I put more probably weight, if I'm going that way or that direction with the brand, in their Vibram outsoles. So something I experienced in one of the more recent models that I've been wear testing, the Asics FujiTrabuco Lyte, a shoe that I really didn't have any high hopes for whatsoever, I found that it felt like it had actually one of the stickiest outsole rubbers that I've ever worn. And so that kind of led me down the thought train of, is it really that sticky, or is it just a different day, different conditions? So right now it's middle of January. I wanted to wait this week until we had a day that was above freezing for a bit of time to let the water, or let the ice rather, in some of the creek crossings thaw out. And so what I'm going to start today is really taking them on the same day, same place, and going back to back. So I'm going to have one shoe on one foot. I'll tell you what that is. I'll have a shoe on the other foot. And basically I'm going to keep on whichever is the winner, and we'll see if we can narrow it down to just one. All right, let's see who's the stickiest. Round 1 is going to be the slick rock round. All right, let's get into it. All right, so the first two on my feet, I have the brand new, just released this week, North Face. It's their Vective series. The outsole rubber compound I don't know a ton about. It says surface control on the outsole. The lug configuration isn't anything too really aggressive. Yesterday was the first day out of the box. I haven't taken measurements of lugs, so I can't really weigh in there. And we're going to start it with the Mad River from Saucony, the version 2. There's its lug design there. It's using their PWRTRAC outsole. And this is one in one of my first gear tests out of the box last year. I basically ran right through this creek and went down. So slipping around right here in the creek, I am going to give the win to North Face compound on this one. So I am going to take off the Saucony, leave the North Face on, and we will go into elimination round 2. All right, round 2. Keeping the North Face Vective series on my left. I've got adding on the Brooks Catamount on my right. This is using their TrailTack outsole compound, not necessarily the biggest lugs. I also didn't have high hopes of the Brooks outsole compound when I did my initial wear test with this model, but I was actually surprised that it had a little bit more traction or tack than I was expecting.
That's pretty good grip right there.
But
actually surprised. I thought they were going to slick a lot more. Keep at it.
I'm going to stick with the North Face compound, though, on this one. All right, round 2 goes to North Face. All right, round 3, starting to get into the heavier hitter, so to speak, in theory, on outsole traction. Keeping the North Face Vective on my left. I have the Salomon Wildcross, one of my favorite trail shoes of 2020, with Contagrip TA on my right. The Salomon outsole rubber, our configuration here, if you can see it in there, is a little bit, or actually quite a bit more aggressive than the North Face. But really, I'm just after comparing the outsole tackiness.
That's what the Wildcross is designed for right there.
These two...
That's fantastic.
Also feeling fairly close. But right there, I think the North Face just actually grabbed where the Salomon didn't. I am going to stick with the whatever North Face is using in the outsole over the Contagrip. All right, round 3, sticking with North Face. All right, round 4, keeping North Face on my left, the Vective series, and putting a LaSportiva Kaptiva on my right, using Sportiva's Stickiest Frixion white rubber. Sportiva, I think I became first acquainted with out of climbing. I've climbed off and on in my younger years. It's been a while. But I've not owned up until getting this pair to demo, because I was really curious about the outsole rubber. I don't love the Kaptiva in the first run out of the box in terms of the fit of the upper. Midsole's okay. But the outsole rubber does feel pretty sticky. Its outsole or lug design is there, if you can see it. It is feeling pretty sticky in here. So now I'm actually starting to get surprised that the North Face feels like it's really holding its own against the Sportiva Frixion as well. Part of me wants to think that that's not the case, but bear with me here. Again, not feeling dramatically different here. But I actually may stick with the North Face, which I really didn't think was going to be the case. All right, round 5. Keeping the North Face Vective series on my left, adding the ASICSGRIP in the FujiTrabuco Lyte on my right. The Asics is the model that really inspired me to do this at all. As I mentioned, I really didn't have any faith in what I was going to be getting out of the Asics shoe. But it proved to feel really sticky on the trails. So I decided that I really wanted to put things head to head to see if I could really understand if that was, again, just a single day, or really whether it would carry over and really just be stickier. The outsole of the Asics does feel remarkably harder as a compound than others that I've worn. So crossing over onto hard pack, it's not as comfortable. When I catch my ankle occasion on the inside, it definitely abrades the ankle. It's just a hard compound. But it feels pretty, it just does feel pretty, again, stickier than I was expecting. The lug configuration is there, if you can see it. These two are also pretty close between the North Face and the Asics, as it just felt with the Sportiva in round 4. All right, this is maybe where I break on the rounds, but I think I am going to give the slight nod to Asics, kind of what I was feeling when I wear tested it in a couple weeks, that the outsole rubber is really quite sticky over our slick rock. All right, so again, not remarkably different, similar to what I felt in the Sportiva Frixion rubber. But I'm going to give a slight nod to Asics. All right, I'm going to keep it on my right. All right, next round. All right, round 6. Keeping the Asics on my right. On my left, I got the Topo Ultraventure Model 2. It's using a Vibram XS Trek Evo outsole combination, which has a slight tweak and update in the Vibram line. Vibram is a pretty known, I think, entity with outsole rubbers. Pretty reliable, pretty consistent, pretty durable. But actually I can feel right off the bat that whereas some of the others prior felt like they were more splitting hairs, I think I'm going to go with, yeah, it's definitely ASICS on this one. This round goes to ASICS. Next round, got the VJ MAXx on my left now, keeping with the ASICS FujiTrabuco on my right. The VJ shoe, their slogan is best grip on the planet. So let's test that out comparatively here. Both are pretty solid. There's a little slip. Ah, slick spot. All right. Between these two, VJ and ASICS going for a top slot. Giving it to the VJ MAXx. Again, both pretty solid, remarkably better than some of the others in the mix so far. But I am going to give this nod to VJ. The VJ is using a Butyl Rubber outsole. Lug configuration, if you can see it there. But really, beyond just the lug pattern, we're really looking at stickiness. And yeah, I'm going to give this one to VJ. All right. Next up. All right, round 9. So on my left is the VJ MAXx. On my right is the Innovate TerraUltra G 270. Uses a graphene infused compound.
The Innovate TerraUltra G 270, allowing you to run down mountains with babies.
I've really enjoyed
2020.
Running in both of these models. The VJ MAXx took a little bit of break-in. The outsole doesn't have the durability that the graphene has. I wore through it a little bit quicker than I have in the graphene model. Upper is pretty bomb-proof, which is something they're known for with the Kevlar. Innovate's been very grounded, very responsive under my foot. So, round 9. The winner of the stickiest outsole rubber out there goes to VJ with their Butyl MAXx. Nice work, VJ. All right, so let's see if we can round out the podium. So I am going to back it out and put a couple others head-to-head that were kind of splitting hairs. Here we're going to try to round out the podium. So we're going into extra rounds here. The win went to VJ MAXx with their Butyl Rubber. Here I'm backing it out to some that were like splitting hairs. So I've got the Innovate TerraUltra G 270 with its graphene infused rubber on my right. I've got whatever ASICS is using in their TrailTack or something, I actually forget what they're calling it, outsole. Actually, I'm going to give it to ASICS, which just blows my mind. I was really not expecting that at all. But yeah. All right. ASICS in the running for second place. All right, so we're still in the extra rounds here, trying to round out the podium, keeping the ASICS FujiTrabuco Lyte on my left, whatever compound they're using. And I've got the North Face Vective series, Infinite, I believe, if I'm remembering right. Brand new, fresh out of the box yesterday. It's something they've been working on for about a year and a half. I don't know what the compound is. It says surface control rather on the outsole. So these two, between the ASICS and the North Face, also splitting hairs. North Face is pretty close, but I'm going to give it to ASICS. All right. With this round, still trying to tease out the podium spots. I've got the ASICS FujiTrabuco Lyte. Not really sure what their compound is on the outsole here. And on my right, I have the LaSportiva Kaptiva. Uses their Frixion white rubber outsole. Head-to-head spot, I'm going to stick with ASICS, which is, again, it just blows my mind. All right, goes to ASICS. So here I'm trying to narrow down the last spot on the podium, the number 3 card. I've narrowed it to VJ MAXx on the Stickiest in the Slick Rock competition, followed by, I don't even know what the compound is that ASICS is using, but giving it to ASICS. I've got the Innovate TerraUltra G 270 on my right with their graphene infused rubber. And I've got the North Face on my left with their surface control. I'm not sure what goes into their rubber. These are really close, but I think I am going to give the nod to the Innovate number 3, North Face number 4, Salomon and LaSportiva probably behind them. All right, so that was first title match of comparing outsole rubbers. A lot of claims out there of which outsole rubber has been the stickiest. Obviously, probably is a bit variable based on where you live. Where I happen to be in upstate to western New York, we have some of the slickest rock that I've ever experienced. Here in the winter, it probably has a little bit more traction in the summer when it gets on a kind of a mossy film to it. But I really needed to put these shoes head to head to really see what they do on the same day, same conditions. And so it was really not necessarily what I expected on some of these. Outsole traction and tackiness is just one part of the equation for shoes. You've got to obviously try these on, see which one fits your foot the best. They are going to have some variety to their lug pattern, so you have to consider what conditions you're going to be running them, whether it's going to be all trail, whether it's going to be road trail crossover. But in any case, at least we were allowed to was basically able to put them head to head. As we had here, some of the losers, so to speak, on the outsole rubber, we had Saucony's PWRTRAC outsole here. The Mad River 1 was one of my favorite shoes of 2019. Still love the shoe, but as I referenced with the creek crossing earlier, not the stickiest outsole rubber. The Brooks, what they're using here with their TrailTack outsole and the Catamount, did surprise me a little bit, but definitely not one of the stickiest. I was expecting the Vibram outsole rubber to come up a little bit higher in this mix today. I've always had pretty good luck with Vibram. This is a new blend for them in the Ultraventure 2, a model that's not technically out yet, with the ASICSGRIP Evo outsole. So maybe the Mega Group would be a little bit different, but it didn't come up as high in the rankings as I thought it would today over the Slick Rock. This next tier up, we had the Sportiva, the North Face Vective, which is just out, literally out of the box yesterday, brand new shoe. I don't even know what goes into that compound. And the Salomon Contagrip. Of this tier, I gave it to the North Face, probably followed by the Sportiva and then the Contagrip, but all fairly close. In that top tier, we had the TerraUltra G 270 with their graphene infused outsole, the Asics in the number 2 slot, and up top we have the MAXx with the Butyl Rubber. As I've mentioned in the review, there are other factors that can take into consideration. In the Butyl Rubber, it's a softer rubber compound. I wore through it, one of the lugs within 100 miles or so. For somebody who's dedicated trail, that might be fine, but if you're doing road to trail crossover, you're just not going to get probably your worth out of that. But they took the win on the Slick Rock competition today. So nice work, VJ. All right, thanks for tuning in. Join us for next round. Well, we will continue to take them head to head through various terrain. All right, see ya.